off a daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit a buy, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor, good as it gets. Build a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Bachelor Pad, fresh out of YouTube jail. I, of course, am your host, the DFS Bachelor, and we're going to go over our championship week, NFL, Fanduel, and Draftkings picks. Very excited for this weekend. My 49ers obviously have a great shot at making it to the Super Bowl, so I'm very excited. But first things first, thank you for all your support, for sticking with me. I do apologize. It was kind of a sudden thing where I haven't been able to post any NBA videos since last Friday. It was my error. I had a link on there that I did not know I wasn't allowed to have, but I had it on there, and so I was shut down for a week. So I do apologize. Thank you all for sticking with me. I think we only lost like 8 subscribers the whole week. So I appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you, and I apologize again. If that ever happens in the future, we did a lot of stuff on Twitter, giveaways, promoting free rolls on fantasy draft, etc. We did lots of cool stuff over there, so that would be the place to get the information if this happens in the future where all of a sudden I just disappear. It's not because I'm meaning to disappear. It's because YouTube, they're cracking down on all of us. So there is that. But thank you for all your support. I truly appreciate you. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the team. Hit that subscribe button down below. I truly appreciate that. Get access to all of our content. Fantasy Draft NBA, FanDuel DraftKings NBA. Of course, we will have a single game showdown video for the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. So a lot of that stuff. But the NBA content's going to really ramp up now that the NFL season is coming to a grind. Also, the tool we're using here, Draft Dashboard. That's where I have all my player pools, projections. So even when I don't do videos for you people playing NBA, NHL, every day, video or not, projections, player pools, cheat sheets, you can use it in the lineup optimizer, mass lineup generator, etc. You can get all that by clicking the link in the video description below. You can try Draft Dashboard for 30 days for $1. And below that, you will see one more link. It's not necessarily a link. It's an Instagram handle for my little sister. This is very special to me, and it's completely off topic, but we only got 2 games, so you guys can bear with me. She's an amazing artist, and like when I say amazing, this isn't, oh, she's my little sister, so she's amazing at art. It's to the point where you ever see someone, they're so good at something that you wish you were that good at anything in your life. That's how it is with my little sister. She does a phenomenal job. So go check her out on Instagram. Maybe your wife, girlfriend, husband, father. They love art. What she does is absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm super proud of her. The first person who goes over and checks something out and maybe purchases some of her art, I will let into my Slack chat absolutely free. We've had that closed off for a long time. So if you are into art, you love just to see talent, and you love me and you want to support my little sister, go do that. We may be the Bachelor Pad here. My son and I, we are bachelors. But we love the women in our life. We love our mamas. We love our sisters and aunts. And she's very special to me, and she does an amazing job. So it's at Drawing Some Art on Instagram. I'll have that down in the video description as well. Check her out. I appreciate all the support and supporting my loved ones. I appreciate that from all of you. So let's get to the games. Let's start with the first game. We're at quarterback. So you've got the Titans and the Chiefs. They played week 10. The Titans won that game 35-32. It was a lot of what we've been seeing from the Titans in the playoffs. Derrick Henry running roughshot over the opponent. He had 23 carries, 188 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you've been paying attention at all the playoffs, you know that he's had 3 straight games. First time ever running backs had 3 straight games with over 180 yards rushing. That's going to be the formula. The Chiefs have an excellent young secondary, but they struggle against the run. That's going to be the formula. Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry. I do think there's some big play potential for the Titans passing game offense off the play action. Big plays to A.J. Brown, Corey Davis maybe. They're getting Adam Humphries back. But my quarterbacks, if I'm just ranking them right now, I have Mahomes 1, then I have Garoppolo 2, Tannehill 3, and Aaron Rodgers 4. The 49ers stomped Green Bay. Now, I don't think that's going to happen again, but it is true that this matchup is just a bad matchup for Aaron Rodgers. Number one, he's always had a thing being afraid to throw at Richard Sherman. Back when Sherman was with Seattle, same thing. Number two, the 49ers can rush 4 and get to the quarterback without blitzing, dropping everyone else back into coverage. And the bottom line is the Packers just don't have the kind of talent at wide receiver after Devontae Adams to compete with that secondary. I think it's a tough day for Aaron Rodgers. That's why he's my lowest rated quarterback. In the regular season, the Titans were 18th against opposing quarterbacks. The 49ers were 10th. The Packers were 5th. The Packers also have an excellent secondary. If you look at that game, though, Garoppolo played well. 14 to 20, 253 yards, a couple of touchdowns. I do like the cheap price. He's 5.2 on DraftKings, 7.6 on Fanduel. You've got Tannehill at 7.7 on Fanduel, 5.5 on DK. Then you've got Aaron Rodgers at 6.1 and 8K. I just have very little interest. I'm going to have exposure to all the quarterbacks, but my least exposure will be to Aaron Rodgers. He will be low owned. He's a fine tournament play. It's no secret that he struggles against teams like this. He threw for 100 yards that first game. 104 yards is all he threw for. I do expect a better showing, but again, the matchup dictates that the 49ers defense is a tough matchup for him. Really, for me, the only way the Packers win this game, they need to get ahead early. In my opinion, they need to be the first to score. Aaron Rodgers, if you look at his career, is not great at coming from behind. Title of the sex tape, there we go. And the Packers, it's just not what they do. Also, they need to win the turnover battle. If the 49ers have another game where they don't turn the football over against the Packers, I don't think the Packers have any shot because I just think the defense makes life a little too tough on that Packers offense. Mahomes, of course, he had a huge game, that first game against the Titans back in Week 10. 36 of 50, 446 yards, 3 touchdowns. We see he's more willing to run. If you remember back then, he was just coming back from that calf, knee, dislocated kneecap, etc. Now he's running the ball more as well. You see he's carried the ball 7 times each of the last 2 weeks, including in the playoff game last week where he put up the 41 against Houston. Patrick Mahomes has the huge upside, but he's very expensive at 7.7 and 9.5. Again, Mahomes, Garoppolo, Tannehill, Rodgers, that's the way I have my quarterbacks ranked for this week. Let's go to running backs. We just talked about Derrick Henry. He's going to get a shit ton of carries. In his last 3 games, he has over 30 carries in each of the 3 games. He has a 42, a 30, and a 29. Week 10 against the Chiefs, he put up 36 DraftKings points. We just talked about his numbers in that game. The Chiefs were 27th in the league against opposing running backs. The Chiefs struggle against the run, are good against the pass. Derrick Henry's going to get the ball a ton. Now, he's very expensive, but of course, you're going to have plenty of exposure to Derrick Henry. And I do think the Chiefs know what's coming. They know what's going to happen. So I do think you see extra players in the box. So you could see some play action over the top. I do think it opens up some big plays for that receiving core. We'll get to that in a moment. Next, Damian Williams, 7K on DraftKings, 7.6 on Fanduel. Tennessee, 16th against opposing running backs. Damian Williams, that first meeting, carried the ball 19 times, had 77 yards, caught 5 balls for 32 yards. I like Damian Williams a lot this week. His price has gone up considerably. Since he's come back from that injury, 18, 34, 27. He's been targeted 16 times over the last 3 weeks. He's getting the bulk of the carries now. They're not bringing in McCoy and Darrell Williams and Darwin Thompson, etc. It's the Damian Williams show. And they love that little wheel route in the red zone. They put Kelsey and Tyreek Hill on the same side of the field. They let Kelsey clear across the middle. If that's open, they'll hit him there. They have Tyreek Hill run a little post route in the end zone, and they bring Damian Williams right around the back, that little wheel route in the red zone. They love doing that. So he's got receiving touchdown upside, rushing touchdown upside. I like Damian Williams a lot. Aaron Jones, not so much. I will have exposure to him in tournaments. His price is low, 6.7 on DraftKings, 7.8 on FanDuel. The 49ers were 3rd in the league against opposing running backs. They held him to 4 DraftKings points in that first game. Of the running backs for the Packers, I think I'm going to take more of a shot on Jamal Williams for the value as a deep sleeper. It's a 2-game slate. There's going to be everyone mass entering this. There's going to be nearly every combination you can think of. It's wildly possible that there's going to be a tie at the top with several people in a 2-game slate. Doing something different, if you're playing tournaments and you want to take a shot at the million, it may burn you. He may get 0 points. But if you look at that first meeting as well, they trust Jamal Williams in pass protection more than they do Aaron Jones. He had 11 carries that first game for 45 yards. He also caught 7 balls. The reason he caught 7 balls is because he's in passing situations because he's a better pass blocker than Aaron Jones. To me, I like other running backs around there, and I'll take a shot on the value trying to be different. If I'm going to pay up for guys like Henry and Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and at tight end, which we'll get to in a moment, you're going to have to find cheap players somewhere. Jamal Williams could be that guy. Another running back too cheap this week against a Green Bay team that is 23rd against opposing running backs is Raheem Mostert. He's 4-3 on DraftKings, 5-8 on Fanduel. Now, I know last week it was a Tevin Coleman show. It hadn't been that way in weeks. Tevin Coleman got hot. Kyle Shanahan trust Tevin Coleman in the postseason in the red zone, so I do like that play. But Mostert had a leg cramp as well. He's totally healthy, practiced, he's fine. But if you look at the 4 weeks prior to last week, Mostert a 20, an 11, a 12, and a 25. Tevin Coleman a 3, a 3, a 4, and a 1. So I'm not sure I'm going to fall for the trap here and pay $1,400 more for Tevin Coleman when I can get Mostert cheaper. And like I said, with so many high-priced options that are in good spots, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Kittle, Derrick Henry, etc. Finding value somewhere. Raheem Mostert's my favorite value play of the slate. Averages over 5 yards, almost 6 yards per carry. In that first game against the Packers, he only carried it 6 times. Tevin Coleman outcarried him 11-6. Mostert had 6 more yards. They both had a rushing touchdown. Mostert also had a 22-yard catch in that game. I like Raheem Mostert. I will have exposure to Tevin Coleman, but my favorite 49ers running back is Raheem Mostert, and that's it. There's just no other running back I'm really interested in playing right there. So from Williams on up, I'm in. I do like Williams and Mostert for the value. I'll have tons of exposure there. I'm meh on the 2 in the middle, Jones and Coleman, and then of course Henry and Williams I will have a ton of exposure to. Let's go to wide receivers. So, even though I'm not in love or thrilled with the Packers passing attack this week against a very stout 49ers secondary, Davante Adams, just from volume by default, is going to be heavily targeted. Look at the last 3 games, all important for the Packers. 40 targets in 3 games. He's had 22 or more DraftKings points in 4 straight weeks, including a 39 last game. Even in that week 12, or week 11, I should say. Was it week 11 or week 12? It was right before Thanksgiving. It's on the 24th of November. Even in that game, with Aaron Rodgers only throwing for 100 yards and a touchdown, the touchdown, of course, went to Davante Adams. He received 12 targets. He caught 7 balls for 43 yards. Just in terms of volume, he's a receiver I'm going to have exposure to. Even if I don't have a ton of Aaron Rodgers, I will have a ton of Davante Adams, especially on DraftKings, where it's a full point per reception. Again, the 49ers, Akello Weatherspoon, Emmanuel Mosley, Richard Sherman, all have been very good in the secondary, but I will have tons of exposure to Davante Adams. Next, my favorite receiver this weekend, probably everyone's favorite receiver this weekend, Tyreek Hill. 7-2 on DraftKings, 7-4 on Fanduel, Tennessee 16th against opposing wide receivers. He had a big game. The last time these two teams met, 11 catches on 19 targets, 157 yards and a touchdown. A massive game for Tyreek Hill. Don't see any reason why he couldn't do that this week. Maybe that ownership comes down just a smidge because he has struggled the last 3 weeks. That's 12, a 10, and a 7. It's kind of been the Travis Kelce show, and Damian Williams for that matter. But I do like Tyreek Hill a ton this week. Next, my favorite 49ers receiver this week is Deebo Samuel. He's 5-5 on DraftKings, 6-3 on FanDuel. The Packers, 11th against opposing wide receivers. He's going to see a lot of Kevin King in the slot. What did Kevin King allow this year in the slot? Or Traymon Williams in the slot, who gave up only 0.22 fantasy points per route ran against. He will line up on the perimeter as well on occasion. He kind of lines up all over the field. It's hard to shadow him. You can see he spent about 30% of the time on the right, 44% of his snaps on the left, 26% of the time in the slot. So he'll see Jair Alexander. He'll see Kevin King. Both are solid corners. The Packers have a good secondary. Kevin King's the advantage you want to look for. He gave up 0.44 fantasy points per route ran against. Jair Alexander, 0.28. But I do like Deebo Samuel. He's going to carry the ball. They're going to go to him on third down. They'll go to him in the red zone, etc. I do like Deebo Samuel. Right below that, someone who's kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks. Since Derrick Henry's been so vital in what they're doing, they haven't thrown the ball a ton. A.J. Brown against a Kansas City defense that was 3rd in the league against opposing wide receivers in terms of fantasy points allowed. It is an excellent young secondary for Kansas City, which is a big change from last year. They still struggle against the run, but they are terrific against the pass. Brashad Breeland, Teron Matthews, Charvarius Ward, 0.19 and 0.22 fantasy points per route ran against. Very tough, but with the emphasis being on that running game for the Titans. It's entirely possible that their big play guy, A.J. Brown, gets open over the top on a play action, getting too aggressive on Derrick Henry, especially if Derrick Henry gets rolling. If he's chewing up 5-6 yards a pop and that defense is wearing down, Andy Reid will overreact. Andy Reid likes to make questionable decisions in the postseason. We all know that. That's the big problem with the Chiefs. Like, on paper, they should dominate this game, but you never know with Andy Reid. Any Andy Reid coach team could fall apart at any given time. It's just how it is. A.J. Brown, big play upside. He's only had 4 targets the last couple of weeks. I don't think he'll have huge ownership. I do like him this week, 5'2" and 6'8". Emmanuel Sanders, I'll have sparingly. Again, we talked about the secondary for the Packers. He only had 1 catch in that first meeting. Now, they were just starting to acquire him. He was just kind of getting used to the offense. However, 4'9" and 5'5", I'll have some sparing exposure, but nothing over the top. Sammy Watkins, same thing. Some big play upside. He's kind of the broken play guy. Like, if they got a free play, if the other team lines up offsides, he likes to throw it downfield to Watkins. But other than that, it's Kelsey and Hill. So again, I'll have some sparing exposure to him, not a ton. In a 2-game slate, anything can happen. So if they're going to see the field for any considerable amount of time, you have to consider him, especially when making multiple lineups. You just don't want to miss out on the winning combination because you were stubborn and said, I hate Sammy Watkins. I mean, I do too, in terms of fantasy, but got to consider him. Allen Lazard. I will have slight exposure to him. He wasn't a part of that offense the first time they played. It kind of started after that where Aaron Rodgers started to trust him. You could see he wasn't even targeted last week against Seattle. Seattle has some decent corners, so do the 49ers. I do expect the 49ers to focus on Devontae Adams, leaving a few openings for him, but he's not my favorite play. You can see the previous 2 weeks he had 17 targets. He's 4-4 on DraftKings, 5-1 on Fanduel, so you're going to have some exposure. But again, I think the A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel price range is where I'm going to kind of stop. And then a guy like Kendrick Bourne. We talked about this last week. They like going to him in the red zone. First Niners touchdown, what was it? Boom, touchdown to Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne, 4-2 on DraftKings, 5-4 on FanDuel. Very red zone and touchdown dependent. He's still going to play in the slot for them, but the 49ers run a lot of 2 tight ends and a lot of different stuff, so he's not necessarily on the field a lot. You could see he only played 44% of the snaps this year as their number 3 receiver. But I will have some exposure 4-2 and 5-4. Again, touchdown, red zone dependent. They like going to him on third down as well. Him and Deebo are their third down targets when they're not going, of course, to George Kittle. Corey Davis, some big play upside, but I'm meh on that. If I'm going to go big play upside with the chance for the huge play, I'm going to go to Mecole Hardman. Now, again, he's boom or bust. 2 weeks ago, their final game, he had 1 target, turned it into 10 points, right? Deep touchdown, over. Then, last week, 4 targets, 4 points. That's Mecole Hardman. He's got that kick return upside. He's 3-8 and 4-9. He's going to be one of those lower-owned punt plays that if he goes off, a couple of deep touchdowns, if they're doubling Tyreek Hill, whatever, and Mecole Hardman gets going, he could be one of those tournament buster plays. Again, it's boom or bust, high risk, high reward for Mecole Hardman. I have zero interest in any of the Packers receivers. Geronimo Allison, I know, is battling an illness. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is terrible. Jake Kumaro, the same. Maybe a little bit of Tajay Sharp if you're looking for a guy way down here and like near minimum salary. Tajay Sharp will play about 40% of the snaps. He's 3-1 on DraftKings, so you could take a shot there. Again, real risky. He's had 7 targets over the last 3 weeks. Let's go to tight ends. At tight end, it's very simple. We've got 4 playable tight ends. I mean, Blake Bell, if you really want to get crazy, the Chiefs' backup tight end. They do say that Travis Kelce feels better this week than last week. The price for George Kittle is right. He's $1,300 cheaper than Travis Kelce. I'm going to have a ton of George Kittle. Now, he didn't light the world on fire last week. 5 catches, turned in 5 points, but in that week 11 game against the Packers, 6 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. George Kittle against the Packers team that's 17th against opposing tight ends. Of course, I love Travis Kelce, 7-1 and 7-8. Tennessee allowed the 5th most fantasy points in the league to opposing tight ends this year. In that first game, he was the only other Chief really heavily targeted. He was targeted 7 times. Actually, Watkins got 9 targets in that game. Kelce was targeted 7 times, converted all 7 of those targets into 7 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. Of course, you like both tight ends. You're going to try to fit them in to every lineup, those two, because the drop-off is significant. Jimmy Graham, 11 targets the last couple of weeks. Like last week was kind of a big game for him and he got an 8. He hasn't had double-digit fantasy points in like 7 or 8 weeks. So there's a lot of risk there. The 49ers fourth against opposing tight ends. That first matchup, Jimmy Graham, one catch for 7 yards on 2 targets. Don't like that a whole lot. Jonnu Smith, the same thing. Now, Jonnu Smith has some athleticism. You could see 3 or 4 weeks ago he had a 15 and a 17. They've only gone to him 5 times in the 2 playoff games combined. The Chiefs are 22nd against opposing tight ends. I do think if you're trying to be contrarian at tight end and go away from Kittle and Kelsey, Jonnu Smith is the way to go. Right now, based on pricing, etc., how I would rank the tight ends is Kittle 1, Kelsey 2, Jonnu Smith 3, Jimmy Graham 4, and then Blake Bell 5. Once in a while, the Titans will go to, if you're looking for like a deep sleeper, the Titans will occasionally go to Anthony Fersker there in the red zone when they do their 2 tight end sets. You could see he's had 5. He didn't have any targets last week, but in that wild card game, 3 targets, got into the end zone, put up a 10 if you want to get jiggy with that. Let's go to defenses. Get the mute button to work. At defense, for me, it's pretty simple. I'm going to have a whole bunch of the 49ers defense. I think that that's the defense to have. The super contrarian will be the Titans defense, which, if you remember wildcard week against New England, they were the defense that were in the first place lineup. They put up a 14. Of course, it was that late pick 6 that put them over the top. That's kind of what you're hoping for with these lower price defense. The Packers, that's a good defense against not the scariest offense in the world at 2-4, but I just think at 2,900, why not have a bunch of the 49ers? I think it's the best defensive play this week. The Chiefs, I would have second. It's going to be ice cold in Kansas City. Doesn't look like wind or rain or snow, but it is going to be very cold, making it a little bit harder to hold on to the football. We know they're going to be running the ball a lot, maybe a strip sack, a fumble, etc. So I like the Chiefs and the 49ers. I'd have the 49ers ranked 1, Chiefs 2, probably Packers 3, Titans 4. Probably the order I would go there. So that's a look at championship weekend. Remember, be different. If you're playing tournaments, be different. Go for it. Scared money does not make money. I appreciate all your support. You can get access to my player pool, all the tools here, the research, my player pool for NBA, my player pool for NHL, etc. by clicking that link in the video description below. You can try Draft Dashboard for 30 days for $1. When you do, how you find my player pool, if you've used my link, you can click on your Watch Players tab over here on the left. These will be the players that you're watching, right? Even if it says 0, click on it. You'll see a blue box at the top that says Watch DFS Bachelor's Picks. It'll also have a timestamp underneath when I've last updated it, so you know if I've gotten my player pool adjusted after some breaking news, etc. That's especially helpful for NBA and NHL. Again, my player pools are all set there. They will be throughout the entire weekend. No matter what, even if I'm at Disneyland, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I set that player pool every single day. So now that that's highlighted, you can use it in the lineup optimizer. You can set your exposures there in the mass exposure tab for the mass lineup generator. We'll make a couple sample lineups here, one on each site, just for shits and giggles. So here on DraftKings, this gave us a Tannehill lineup, right? I like Jimmy G. Let's get down to Jimmy G. I also like Raheem Mostert for the value savings with Derrick Henry, pairing him with Deebo Samuel. Now we can get to George Kittle almost. We need to save 300. Let's see here. A.J. Brown there in the flex. Jamal Williams is an interesting option right there in the flex. Kendrick Bourne, Emmanuel Sanders. Let's get a Jamal Williams here. Then over here we can come up to A.J. Brown. I like something like that. And we have the Chiefs defense in. I like the 49ers defense. This is a tournament lineup, leaving some salary on the table. We still have 700 we can upgrade. So we could play Tyreek Hill. Now we can upgrade 1,400. So now we can just start making all sorts of upgrades depending on what you want to do here, which I like. So we could come here at the flex and just go, if you want to go to Emmanuel Sanders, we can almost get to Coleman. Let's do like a 49ers passing game stack there. So actually that's too many 49ers. We can't have that many 49ers. 1, 2. Can only have, well, you can on DraftKings, not on Fanduel. Let's do, I guess Sammy Watkins. So we have Garoppolo, Mostert, Henry, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, George Kittle, Sammy Watkins, 49ers D. Another route you could try to go if you want to pay up at wide receiver here and then pay down at Jamal Williams, and we really try to save. Again, you can click the link, try to make your own lineups. We still have 1,300 we'd have to save here. So we'd have to get real cute with it if we want to pull off something like that with Henry and Adams and Hill and Kittle. Like, you'd have to take Kittle out and go to one of these cheaper tight ends, which is risky. Let's go to Fanduel. Don't forget the cash game line optimizer is up here as well. So if you just are playing cash games and not tournaments and you like those sorts of projections, etc., click that cash game. It's really effective for NBA. I've really been pleased with the results for NBA. So over here on FanDuel, let's do a Patrick Mahomes lineup. Let's lock him in and I'll regenerate. That way we can see how difficult this is. So this is actually a pretty solid lineup in my opinion. Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Tevin Coleman, Watkins, Sanders, Kendrick Bourne, Travis Kelce, Mostert, Chiefs defense. 1, 2, 3. Yep, only 4 Chiefs. Again, I like the Niners defense. I'm probably going to go there. The savings for George Kittle, to me, is worth it. Now, Mahomes to Kelce, I do like. But I'm going to try to get to Tyreek Hill. And when I do that, it's just going to be nearly impossible to play Derrick Henry. You're going to have to make some, some sacrifices here. Now we still have 700 on the table. I think this is shaping up to be pretty solid. Get to Deebo Samuel. We need to save 100. Come down here to there's not much we want to get down to. Jamal Williams maybe over Tevin Coleman. I don't want to play both Mostert and Coleman. So, although that would be an interesting tournament philosophy. Jamal Williams at 4.8. Now we have 1,600. We can upgrade Kendrick Bourne, get to A.J. Brown. I like that for FanDuel. I think that's a nice looking lineup. Mahomes, Williams, Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, George Kittle, Mostert, and the 49ers D. Again, that'll be a little bit different because of the high ownership of Derrick Henry. Don't forget to click the link. Try it for 30 days for $1. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, be part of our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. That will be back on Monday. Comment with your fantasy draft username. We're going to award some entries into this week's championship game, Hooters main event. That video will be out shortly as well, unless I have that one out first. I'm making these right before my suspension lifts so that they're ready to upload as soon as I'm allowed to. Again, I appreciate you guys all. I appreciate you guys, all of you guys, if I could talk. Be sure to check out my sister's Instagram. She's a phenomenal artist. I mean, mind-blowing artist. I appreciate the support there. Cheers to all of you. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support, sticking with me. We will see you for our Fantasy Draft NFL video, and we'll have our NBA videos continuing as usual on Monday. Thank you all again so much. Goodbye, folks.